Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 25th day of January, 2024. Well, 25 reduces to 7, so it's kind of a number of balance here. And when I started this reading, I've pulled the runes and the cards, but my throat is not clear, and so I'm coughing, and I don't know. Hopefully, I've had enough tea, and I'll drink more as we go here. So forgive me for that. But I want to go ahead and get started on this reading just in case my voice gives out. Um, in terms of the runes here today, we have both Alyes and Albus. Now, Alyes is the 15th rune rather of the Elder Futhark, so it has a 6 numerology to it. It means the elk or elk sedge. You'll see. You might see pictures or video of, especially if you watch any of these National Geographic shows, where you'll see a moose out in the swamp areas, and they've got the antlers, right? But the type of swampy grasses that they're standing in actually provides protection for them, and so, you can think of the of Alyes as just an elk. It means the elk, and the antlers that protect it, or the elk sedge that protects it. But it's also the link between physical reality and spirit. And in fact, it even looks like it if you raise your hands up in supplication to spirit or to draw down the moon, whichever, or in supplication to the goddess, whatever you're doing this for. It reminds me of the rune Alyes, especially in terms of the energy behind it. It literally provides that the air, fire, and water element focuses into spirit, or into the earth element here at the bottom, and so you're bringing all of that creation energy into physical reality here. And so with Albus now, and I've said this before, if this is your first time here, welcome, by the way. But Geomancy runes are. They basically involve 8 concepts, and with each one having a continuum of experience. And so you're going to have something that's maybe a little more higher vibratory, like Albus, which is the sage or higher wisdom, an older person, the spiritual advisor type of a person. On the other end of the continuum, you have Rubeus, which would be, just turn this over, and you have Rubeus, which Rubeus is the more negative energy. It's a misuse of force. It's not just a lack of impulse control, it's intentional. So you can look at, the spiritual advisor versus the sociopath, basically. That's the continuum of experience found between Albus and Rubeus. And yeah, I know they're names in Harry Potter, but that's not where they come from. Geomancy's been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and so I think it's kind of cool that she. I think there also was to open an area there to get into their where they're living. There was this picture of this woman who's speaking and whatever, and because everything's alive there, right, in the movies, and I think the guy who was taking them in there for the first time said Fortuna Minor, or either Fortuna Major or Fortuna Minor. That's another continuum of experience in the Geomancy runes. So it's kind of fun to watch that and go, oh, that's cool, she used that. But because it fit, right? It just fit. Although Rubeus Hagrid is not anything like the Rubeus in this continuum here with Albus, but at the same time, it was just kind of fun that she did that. But anyway, you're looking at here the two of them together, both of these runes. They're really talking about the same kind of experience, but except that with Alyes, it's bringing that energy down into the Albus energy, essentially. And this is what it looks like when spirit enters and becomes the basically the driver of the experience instead of the ego driving the experience. Because with ego you have reaction, and you don't really know everything that's going on. You're just reacting to the moment, maybe likely without all the facts, And maybe with Rubius energy, you're trying to manipulate and all of that to try to get things to your advantage. Well, together with Alyi's, Albus and Alyi's are suggesting, no, this is what it looks like to have spirit imbue your perceptions and your interactions and your reactions, basically. And so to do that and to express wisdom and spiritual qualities in your life, especially in terms of others. And then I drew 3 cards. I drew the Fool, the High Priestess, and the Knight of Pentacles. So right away, you can see with the Fool and the High Priestess, both from the major arcana, those are soul archetype cards. And so we really have a strong influence of soul here in the reading, where either today is going to be a day where that's how you're going to function, or it's recommending that's how you should function, to allow higher awareness to come in and inform everything you do, everything you think, all the ways that you interact with people, to have that be the primary energy here today. And then having both the Fool and the High Priestess, that's just reinforcing that. These are soul archetype cards, again, that are talking about the soul's journey, essentially, in throughout form, in the same way that the runes do, that the Elder Futhark runes do. And then lastly, we have the Knight of Pentacles. We had a run on Pentacles on Monday. We had the 7 and the 6. We also had the Queen of Swords. And that was kind of a different kind of a reading. That hit me differently than typically does. But this could be a little bit of a continuation of that with Pentacles here, but maybe not. Maybe we'll just see what happens. Again, with the Knight of Pentacles, it's offering some kind of structure and being in a trust position, I would say, with other people, helping them, having material support and help for them, and having that be the knight's quest, essentially. But let's go ahead, and before we actually get to that, let's go ahead and start with the Fool. Here we have card 0 of the major arcana. You see the sun up above. That's representative of heaven. And he's not yet taken his leap into form. Now, I say he simply because it's easier to do that. The Fool is actually an androgynous individual, because until the soul takes the leap into form, into the body that it's going to inhabit, we don't know yet what that's going to be. He may know at this point, but he's trusting heaven because he's trusting the Creator, essentially, because look, he's looking upward. The 0 alone is about unity, and it's about the unity of spirit and the unity of all of this that we're involved in. You know, we might look separate from what so-called a spiritual presence might look like, but that's because we've just forgotten who we are. And until we remember, we're going to continue to have the kind of struggle in form that we have. And right now, there's a lot of struggle, isn't there? A lot of, either end of the continuum basically happening, where you've got essentially Albus versus Rubius energy being displayed all over the place here now. And it's very difficult, because it almost feels like, we're on 2 separate paths in this life. One headed toward Rubius energy and one headed in the direction of Albus energy. At least that's how it feels to me. But the Fool, he's got his, he's standing on the precipice here to take the leap into form, trusting the process, trusting that he has the tools he needs in his knapsack and what is that? That's just the awareness of the choice he's made to have the type of experience that he's going to have, and to populate it with the kinds of experiences that are going to best give him an idea of how all this should play out, essentially. And so he's got everything he needs here. He's got the white rose of purity in his hand. You see that also with the white lilies, but this is a rose. The idea that there's no expectations, just beauty and love and harmony, and the soul taking its exciting journey once again into another physical reality, another physical realm of experience, basically. And so I think that what the Fool presents today for you is really to understand that we've all taken that leap into this physical reality, and we have a choice. We can see things, continue to see things from that perspective, or we can forget and start reacting to things in ways that, maybe are fear-based, control-based, and all of that, when in reality, we're supposed to be observers of our own reality. We're supposed to feel that sense of I'm a soul and I'm watching what's going on, essentially. That's how that's supposed to play out. Well, it doesn't. And so, we end up, I don't think babies have the problem. I don't think even little kids have this problem, but over time that gets worked out of us to where we don't make that connection with people that we do when we're really young, and see the beauty in the world and the love in the world. My granddaughter said they were talking to a neighbor next door, and it was an older man, and I think it was next door, or somebody was walking by or something, and she said to my son, she says, well, after he leaves, right, and they're walking back to the house, she says, he's a nice guy. Should we set up a play date with him? And she was, I think, gosh, was she 4 then, or maybe she was 5, maybe she's only 4. But you see, it's that innocence that children have, and they see the beauty in people, and they see the love in people, and they haven't learned yet of the issues that the world will present to them as they get older, right? But it was just kind of adorable. It's like, can we set up a play date, and he's like, no, honey, we can't do that. And so it's fine, don't worry. And so I think she thought maybe he had kids, but he didn't. That's past, and his kids are grown, but he probably does have grandchildren. But anyway, it's that innocence that the fool still has in the beginning stages of life during childhood, that eventually, environment changes all of it, doesn't it? So we start out then today with no expectations. We start out today with just drawing in higher awareness and going along our merry way, and embracing our experiences in a way that is non-judgmental and is just looking to see what can I learn from it all. Then we move to the High Priestess. And this is where I think, being card 2 of the major arcana, you're looking at balance. Same with the 7 energy for the numerology today. That's also about balance. Letting the scales, it represents, I view it as the scales, the number of the scales, and letting the scales settle out and come to rest before you finally figure out what's going on. You have to be able to see the whole picture. And here, though, in terms of the balance that we strike, this is the balance polarity. This is the balance between the shadow side of self and spirit, or the masculine and feminine within. And instead of gender, what that represents is masculine would be projective energy. Think someone who's really, really assertive, and receptive energy for feminine side. Someone who it maybe is a little more drops resistance and is a little more passive, and watches and observes. You can think of it as the void of creation, from which creation is born, to creation itself. You could look at it that way. Lots of ways to see this. Behind her, these are actually the pillars of Solomon, by the way. Behind her is a drape that shows 10 pomegranates. You cannot see all of them, but they're there, and they represent the tree of life from the Kabbalah, and all of the phases of development that we go through. Here, I believe the first 3 are before are essentially the fool, the high priestess, and the magician. So it's all energetic. But then once you get below you come through the abyss and you get below here, then you're starting to look at different concepts. And it's no different. In fact, I can't find it here. It's not sitting right here, but it's somewhere. I have a thing that I found that shows how the major arcana structures through all of the 22 cards of the major arcana, how it structures through and moves through where they're all placed on the tree of life. So it's kind of an interesting thing to study it from that perspective, to look at the different energies, beauty and mercy and all of that, down into Malkuth, which I believe is earth, physical form. I think it's Malkuth. but basically she sits between the high priestess sits between the two pillars, balancing dark and light. She represents the subconscious or unconscious realm within the self. It comes after the magician, where the magician is formulating the body and the physical reality that elementally that the fool will then take the leap into. But this is this is the other side of that process. Whereas the magician controls physical reality, the high priestess controls the inner reality, essentially, and the soul that comes in. This is representing that. Here you see that the cross here essentially represents the vertical axis, meaning spirit moving into form, and then the horizontal axis of what type of an individual, what type of energy are you going to express? Is it going to be more feminine or masculine? In other words, people that are born under the, say, air signs, that's a masculine. I'm a Libra, that's an air sign. So it's a little more assertive than somebody, say, that maybe is more earthy and is more passive, not passive in terms of not acting, but just waiting and watching and learning, and instead of asserting themselves, they sit back and they observe. So that's kind of the energies there, trying to blend both axes together. You see the maiden, mother, and crone represented on her crown there, with the full moon here and the maiden moon here and the crone moon here. In fact, she also has her foot resting on the maiden moon, essentially here, the representation of that. She holds a Torah on her lap, so that's the word of God, basically, or higher awareness. And so she's trying to blend all of those energies together. The high priestess is about intuition, wisdom. She's the divine feminine manifested into form. She's about revelation, compassion, inner wisdom, dreams, change, alignment, and spirit. She is, and when you see this, it could also mean that something is hidden that you're not aware of. So and maybe not, it may be hidden within you that you're not aware of. Because if the focus here of the reading is to draw spirit into everything we do today here, then I think that you're really talking about how does this process happen and being mindful of it, drawing that higher awareness into everything, letting it inform your experiences, and then responding to people with that spiritual level of wisdom instead of, and so again, and it's going to be about being in balance. It's going to be, with the 25th day here, the 7 numerology of letting things settle so that before you respond to something, so that you're truly sure of what's going on. You could see somebody getting angry and upset and you don't know what to do about it. You could respond in the same way, and and then everything gets increased, right? Ratchets up. Or you can use the runes today to say, now wait a minute, there could be more than meets the eye here. Maybe me getting angry is not going to help the situation. Maybe something's going on with this person that we need to get to the bottom of, because so often we react in anger when we're afraid. So what is making this person afraid today? Maybe say, hey, I see you're angry and I want to help. Tell me more. Tell me what's going on here. What's making you so angry? And then maybe everything settles and the person starts explaining what's going on. And maybe there's a way that even if you can't help fix something, you can at least provide some support that can then make this person feel at least a little bit better about what's happening, what's making them so upset or so angry. So that's a way of responding with higher awareness and letting things settle out so that you truly know what you're dealing with here, and being there to offer the love and support and the spiritual guidance, maybe with Albus, that somebody might need. And I think when we get to the Knight of Pentacles, I think Pentacles is telling us whatever this situation might be that you need to employ all of this higher awareness with, has to do with your physical and material reality here, either your own or somebody else. And given that the Knight is sitting here on his, I just love this. I love this knight probably more than any of them. You see that beautiful black horse there, and he just seems so strong and so grounded and so ready to. He just stands at the ready to be of service to somebody else. And knights are very often in service. I mean, typically to the king, but you never know. They could be sent out to the areas that the king controls, and the king, that the lands that the king owns, and the people that live there. Maybe the knight is there to help them in some way. And so I think the knight may be representing you, the querent, or whatever you want to call yourself, the person needing the reading. And it's basically saying you have to offer strength and grounding to help somebody through something. So I think that realistically, even though we're talking about, an expression of Alyes and Albus with both the Fool and the High Priestess, I think here's what you need to do with it. And be that guy, that individual who's trustworthy, who's dependable, who's practical and realistic, and may be able to offer, if someone comes to you, who's upset or concerned about something, or you just find yourself with somebody and they just start talking about something. Maybe you're the one today that's going to offer the spiritual guidance necessary to help that person through their struggle, and to help get them to where they're a little more settled in what has happened and what needs to happen, maybe. But again, he's sitting up above everything. He's not down in the area. He just looks like he's up on a precipice in the same way the Fool is, waiting to see how he can be of service to other people. You hear there's a series of transcripts from a channeling done when was it done? Was it done in the early 80s or late 70s or somewhere in there? I forget. But it's called The Law of One, if you're familiar with it. It's an interesting series. It's like 5 books. They put it into 5. I think it's 5 books. 4 or 5. Anyway, I've read through them, and I find it really fascinating how whoever it is that the woman is channeling is supposed to be a group of energies, basically, that were present in this earth, likely in physical form of some kind, or maybe not, I don't know. But they were helping to guide humanity at some point. And maybe they still are, and especially through these writings that they are. But one of the concepts they talk about, and again, it reminds me so much of of what we do here, and maybe, I don't know, it was part of the reason I do this the way I do it, is because, again, you're looking at a continuum of experience, and in this case, they're talking about service to self and service to others. And it seems to me that when I said earlier that it's almost like we're on this split path where some people are heading toward the Albus energy and some are heading toward the Rubeus energy. Well, Rubeus energy would be service to self, where everything you do is self-driven. If you help somebody else, it's because it makes you feel better. It's not really because you're helping them. You don't feel that good feeling of, I don't want anything for what I do. I'm just glad to help you. That's service to others. But someone who's service to self is going to want something for it, if not now, in the future. And we see that type of experience. I think if we were to again define this as 2 paths that have taken hold here, 2 timelines, if you will, I think that you're looking at it that way. I think it's one is service to self and one is service to others. And I think with this reading, it's really stressing the service to others type of experience here, letting higher awareness define how you see things and how you interact with other people. I think it makes all the difference. I really do. In fact, it might even get someone to shift their perception from one path to the other, especially if it's a random act of kindness that you show someone, either by giving them a listening ear or helping them with something, whatever it is. Some of that is that kind of went bright there. Wonder why. Maybe some enlightenment. I don't know. But the bottom line here, I think, for the reading is who you are to others, being the Knight of Pentacles, being there for them, being there to help them through whatever issues they have, being a source of support, a source of guidance. And in this case, spiritual guidance today is a really important thing to do. Because I think, see, now I haven't been drinking my tea. I just think that this is maybe the quintessential decision that we have to make going forward here in our lives, is what side of the coin are we going to be on? Are we going to be the one who helps, who allows spirit to guide our hand? Or is it all about us, right? Anyway, I have to find some, there it is. Well, I think I'm done. I can't talk anymore. So anyhow, I'm glad we got to the end of it, though. So just today, as you go about your day, think about yourself as a soul and what you're doing here, what the whole reason is for you to be here. What's your purpose? What's your goal here? What are you trying to learn? How and then try to express yourself through higher awareness to others in terms of and just in how you see things. And then be there. Feel that presence within that's there to help and advise and to bring people into the awareness of who they truly are as higher awareness, as a soul expressed into form, part of that collective consciousness of the Creator. If that's what all this is, it's just the expression of the Creator expressing itself out into physical reality, and we're just here as aspects of the Creator to learn and grow and bring what we learn back to the collective consciousness, the collective awareness that we're all part of. I think the place to start is to understand that's who we are, and not get down in the muck of the ego, basically, and allowing the ego to guide your perceptions and your reactions and your judgments. Just like the example I gave of somebody who might be upset and angry. You can match anger for anger, but you're not going to get anywhere. And you're not going to solve anything. It's going to only ratchet things up for that person and maybe for you. Especially if they think, if it seems like they're mad at you. You have to come from a place of calm and come from a place of observation and just think something's going on here, and I need to know more. And the only way I can help this person is to know more, and to not judge, to let him empty his cup. That's what I forget who it was. It was another martial artist when we used to teach karate, and it was the idea of emptying your cup. We taught Ed Parker's Kempo. I don't think it was Mr. Parker. It might have been, though. God, I think it was one of his other students that we did some training with, and went to some seminars with. But it's the idea of emptying your cup. Let go of all of what you thought you knew. And there's also something in the Course of Miracles about that. Just let go of everything. Let go of all the things you thought you knew, and just wait for awareness from all that is basically. What's the bigger picture here? What is the message of this? And with the Knight of Pentacles, I think that that card is defining what that is, and it's being there to support others through maybe difficult times. Talked a little bit about that on Monday. So maybe this is an extension, just a reinforcement of the idea that something like that doesn't come from being service to self. It comes from being a person who's living in service to others. That selfless attitude of I'm just going to be with you, even if that's all it is. Even if it's just being present with the person who just needs somebody to just listen, and not judge, and maybe even not even offer advice, just to be there for that person and just be present with them. Maybe that's all this is going to be today for you, but that could be everything to that other person. And so you make that divine connection, in other words, in a way that ego has no place. And again, I think that this is what we're facing going forward collectively. Is what path are we on? Is it the path of ego? Is it the path of service to self? or is it the path of spirit and the understanding that we're here to be in service to others? I think that that's overall what we're all contending with now. What side of the coin are we on? What side of the continuum are we on? You know, is it albus energy or is it rubeus energy? And it realistically, it comes down to that. And unfortunately, because we were unable to see the subtleties of all of that, now it's getting extremely defined. If you get what I'm saying here, we're seeing extreme things going on that we have to decide, is that what we want? Is that what we want for our lives? Or do we want something better? Do we want something where we live in harmony and unity with other people? Doesn't mean we have to agree all the time with one another, but it doesn't mean we have to hate one another either. And there's just so much of that now. And I don't know where that ends. You know, it can't end in a good place. And so I think that, you know, as you go about your day and maybe even through the weekend, think about this. Think about yourself as someone who is actually spirit, you know, embodied in this form that you take. And that's what should be driving your experiences. Try that out if you're not accustomed to it. It might feel a little odd at first, but then suddenly you find yourself in a place that's more balanced and more whole than you ever thought possible. So in any event, think about that. I'm going to go drink some more tea, maybe go take some I've got some wild cherry tincture. I think I may take that. I made some of that. I bought some. I can't make. I'm not sure how to do it off my trees. I have cherry trees. I don't think they're the ones in question though, that you make that with. And so I actually I bought it from an herb store and made my tincture for it. But I have to say it helps. So I'll probably go take some of that and see if I can feel a little better today. But thanks for coming by, and check out the stuff that's going to come out on the blog. The blog's called Stepping Aside. It comes out on Sunday nights. There'll be the forecast for the week, for next week. Also, the daily correspondences for Work and Magic will be there. There's going to be like an astrological cheat sheet, sort of. I call it that. It's really not, but it talks about just the major energies. You know, where the sun is. It's in Aquarius, and where the moon's going to be all week long, and where the other planets, what signs they're in, just for information purposes. If you like that sort of stuff, it's there. And then also, I have to finish the Exploring Tarot for next week. I've still got to write that, so I'll get that done here today. And check all that out. Again, it comes out in the midnight hour on Sundays, always. And I also write over on Patreon, Substack, and Medium. And in fact, I do a write-up of these. I didn't post it over there on Monday, but it's up on the blog. I do a write-up of this as well as have the video. And just go check that stuff out on the blog. The address there is imsteppingaside.com. If you forget, click on more below the video. It'll be right there at the top. This little window opens, and you can read through it if you want to. And then have a good weekend, and come back again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.